Hi Aries, Happy New Year and welcome to your January 2019 Tarology 33 reading. We have a Celtic Cross spread in front of us, which is normally a 10 card spread, but you got some extra cards, especially in the present position. And then we have an Oracle card that we read at the end to help tie everything together, and there's actually a couple new things that I'll be incorporating this month as well. So there's quite a bit to get to, so we'll just get started with the main spread first. And in the main situation position, we have the World card. So to me, the World card, first and foremost for me, and maybe not a lot of people viewed it this way, but I actually view the World as representing the North Node. Reason being, it's really the last card in the major arcana, at least numerically speaking, and I almost view it as the Magician is that start point, right, where you get your soul contract and you see the Magician holding that contract up. And then I almost view this as the completion, which is, you have your soul contract in one hand and your diploma, if you will, in the other, right, saying you successfully completed your life path. And, so obviously on a less dramatic scale than that, it could just be completing anything. It could be graduating from school. It could be a training course that you were doing at work. It could be a diet program, you name it. It could be anything, right? But when it's in the reverse, I see that as something that wasn't completed. And not to say that it won't be, but just to this point, as we arrive into January, it looks like there's something going on in your life that's not complete. And if we look at where Saturn is, because this also represents Saturn sometimes, Saturn is in your 10th house of career. So maybe you've been feeling like you've been spinning your wheels in your 10th house of career and social status right now. That's certainly a possibility. I mean, you guys have had your ruler retrograde and in shadow for a good part of 6 months of this year. And that was partially in your house of friendships, hopes, and wishes, and then also career. So, it could have been a lot of heavy energy there, and now the South Node has moved from your house of friendships, hopes, and wishes into your house of career and social status. And now the Sun is there as we speak. I'm recording this right around the time of that Cancer full moon. And, the Sun has just moved into Capricorn, and it's going to be there for, the first few weeks of January. And there's going to be a solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse anyway, in Capricorn, which is your house of career. So could be something that's getting started up in that area of your life. But again, it could affect any area of life really, but that's the main vibe that I'm getting. That's something, isn't completed just yet. And in the challenger obstacle position, we have the Sun card. So, a few ways this could be playing out. Again, we'll start what I was just talking about, which was the fact that there will be a partial solar eclipse in your 10th house. So this could certainly be saying that the challenge is, you're going to have to wait for that new moon eclipse for that energy blockage to clear up. This could also just be pointing to overall energy levels for you. And, with this in the challenger obstacle position, and this showing a sign of incompletion, this could just say that there's been something you've been working towards, but you just haven't had the energy to do it lately. Again, we mentioned how Mars had been going retrograde for a good part of the last year for you guys, and then, you might have been listening to horoscopes or just looking at the astrology in general and saying, oh, all right, cool, Mars is going direct now, finally, I feel re-energized, right, I'm going to be able to get what I want to get done. And then it moves into Pisces. So, that's an uncomfortable position for Mars in general, to be in the sign of Pisces. And then for you guys, it's the 12th house. And that's also an uncomfortable position for Mars to be in as well. It's the 10th house of anyone's chart. So, it could have just really felt like you haven't had the energy and willpower to get something done that you needed to get done. And if that's the case, the good news is right now, right as January kicks off, you guys are going to have Mars back in your sign. So, there's been a lot of heavy energy, and I mean, we've covered some of it already. I don't want to keep repeating that over and over. But on top of that, you guys had Chiron come into your sign, and it moved back into your 12th house. You had, Uranus come back into your sign. So definitely a lot of energy going on for you guys that might not have been talked about as much as you would have liked. So you might have been wondering, why am I feeling this way? Why can't I seem to pull it together? And if that's the case, that's what it was. So astrologically, everyone gets hyped up for a new year and starts to set goals for themselves and everything. This is what I'm going to do. All right, here we go. It's a new start, right? Chance at the reset button. But if there's any sign who has more of energetic backing for that, it's you guys with Mars starting the year in your sign. I think that's going to energize most signs as a whole. Like as a collective, that's going to be awesome for us to start the year with Mars in Aries. It's going to give all of us that boost to start new things in at least one area of life. But for you in particular, it should really be helpful, almost like a karmic reward for all those things that you've been going through, under the radar that might not have gotten the exposure that you would have expected. And, and I mean, even speaking of that 12th house energy again, when the new moon in Sagittarius happened, that was actually squaring Neptune and Mars in your sign too, so that could have been a bit of a rough stretch for you too. And you might have been hearing, oh, okay, the Sun's in Sagittarius, Jupiter's in Sagittarius. All right, cool, that's going to be great for me. It's harmonious aspects for me as a fire sign. And then that new moon might have taken some wind out of your sails too. So, there's quite a bit going on. And I'm not going to say everything's going to be amazing from this point forward, but you guys are definitely going to get a pretty decent boost this month, I feel. And then in the foundation position, we have the Ace of Cups. So the way I explain the aces, to me, they're not necessarily something tangibly being offered, but it's at least in the idea stages. And the reason I say that is if you think about an ace in a deck of playing cards, you have the ace in certain games, you could count it as a 1 or as an 11. So I view the ace card as the 1, and then the page is like the 11. So they're kind of the same energies, but the difference is with the page, you actually see a person possessing whatever the item is, right? So Page of Cups, for example, there's a person holding that cup. Page of Ace of Swords, and then Page of Swords, the page is actually holding that sword. So here, it's almost like you just see it coming out of the clouds. That's what makes me think of it as more of an idea. So for some of you, this could be an idea for a new project that you've been trying to get off the ground. For some of you, since we do see a child in that card, for some of you, you could have been attempting to get pregnant for a while, maybe having some struggles with that. And maybe now this is saying that the energy is going to be more auspicious towards getting that moving for you guys. And for others of you, it could just be a love offer as well. Maybe you've been trying to get a relationship off the ground, you've been having some struggles with it. I mean, Venus was retrograde in your opposite sign for a bit too earlier this year, so that certainly is a possibility. So, like I said, in plenty of areas of life you might have just felt stuck, and then the Eight of Swords at the bottom of the deck seems to support that. You might feel a little gun shy now after all these weird energies that have been going on, In the past position, we have the Ten of Pentacles. So this card points to stability. It could have just said that you were really plugging away at your career. Again, like I said, your 10th house is very lit up right now, and it has been for a pretty good chunk of the year. I mean, you've had Pluto in your 10th house for years now, so you're probably used to that already. But Saturn joined the party, if you will, this year. Like we said, you had Mars retrograding in there for a bit. Now you have the Sun in there. So there's a lot going on in your 10th house, but with this in the past position, this could all just be tied to the energetic vibes that I'm getting, which is, you felt a lot more stable in the past, and now you've just felt like you haven't had that impetus to get up and go like you normally do, right? And that could be what this ace is too, saying it reinvigorates your passion, maybe more the Ace of Wands, you would think that, but Cups too is also something that you're emotionally attached to. So that's why I think passion in that regard, something you've been passionate about, now you actually get that energy boost to pursue it finally after what might have seemed like forever for you guys, people joke and say you guys aren't the most patient of signs to begin with, but Mars going through anyone's 12th house will make them impatient, let alone you guys. So, and like I said, all those retrogrades too, so totally understandable if that's where you're coming from. Now, in the present position, to me, almost indicative of what we were saying with all the Mars energy coming into your sign. You got 4 cards in the present position, so very rare I get that many for one position, but they definitely seem to want to come out in this position. So we have the 9 of Cups, pretty solid card to have, right? Some people refer to it as the wish card. If you want to at least think about the more negative connotation with it, if you look at the person's face, they look like a little smug. Their body language is a bit closed off, right? So, but in a more positive sense, that could be contentment, right? Saying that you're happy with what you have. And you know how the saying goes, usually when you're grateful for what you do have, more things come your way, right? So that's part of how I view this as the wish card, which is to say, once you're happy with what you have, you know what you bring to your bring to the table, if you will. You have that self-worth going. More things are attracted to you. But like I said, just be careful of the possible negative connotation there of being smug. Maybe now with all that energy back, you might be like, new Mars, who this, right? So might be going a little over the top with it. But I don't really see that kind of energy for you guys. You should be all right. But yeah. Then we have the Moon card. Now, the Moon card, a lot of people refer to this as deception. I don't normally see it that way. The main way I explain it to people, however weird of an example may sound like, it's like if you're in a hotel room with someone, right? You check into the hotel, you put your luggage aside, you get a feel for the room, right? You go to sleep, turn the light off, have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, right? And you don't want to turn the light on and wake the other person up, right? So, okay, you're trying to feel your way through the room. While the lights are on, you had no problem getting around the room and, thinking that you were going to stub your toe or anything. But with the lights off, it's an unfamiliar environment. You got to feel your way through it a little bit, right? So you might be moving a little bit slower. Maybe stick your arm out in front, make sure you don't bang into anything. That's the general vibe there. So it's not like anyone moved the furniture around while you were sleeping, but it's just, you have to feel your way through a situation. The moon doesn't bring anything that isn't there out there, right? So once the sun comes up, it's going to be the exact same environment it was at night, but just might have to feel your way through it. And we have the 6 of Swords. 6 of Swords can represent short distance travel, can represent moving for some of you, and a lot of times it just represents leaving something behind as well. And then lastly, finally, it's you guys, the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands to me represents the court card for Aries. So the vibe that I'm getting with those 4 cards together is, getting clear about what you want. Because if we view this as the wish card, right, then we have the moon, like we said, feeling your way through it, really evaluating, okay, what do I want? And then making a conscious effort to move towards that, and in the process, coming back to yourself. Like we said, Mars returning to your sign could very well feel like a bit of a rebirth in that regard, So, and you might not even feel it right away either, just because there's still going to be so much energy going on in the Capricorn, like I said. But, it's going to be there with you guys for, I think, about midway through February. So you have a pretty good stretch, and it's going to be moving forward, and there's at least no personal planets in retrograde or shadow in January, so should feel pretty good. But yeah, that's the main vibe that I'm getting. You guys getting clear on what you want with these 2 cards here, making the effort to move towards it, and at the end of the day, feeling back on top of things like you're back to yourself. All right. And then in the near future position, we have the 5 of Wands. Now, sometimes this is seen as conflict. It's not nearly as serious as the 5 of Swords, for example, if it were going to be an actual conflict. But to me, I view this more as competition. And this could just be saying now with you re-energized, with Mars back in your sign, you just might feel that energy to get back and compete in the world, right? If this is a career field, maybe you've been, let's say you're commission sales or something. Maybe your numbers fell off a bit for a couple of months. Or maybe just something where you're an entrepreneur of some kind. Maybe you haven't had the energy to put into your business. So you haven't really, been seeing the success that you normally were used to. That could be what this is saying as well. So I really don't see this as much of, actual combative energy, just more of competitive energy. And competitive energy could be a totally positive thing. So I see that as pretty positive here. If there are other surrounding cards around it, I might think otherwise, but that's the main vibe that I'm getting there. It's just you throwing your name back in the hat and going for it. All right, and then in your influence in the situation, we have 3 cards here. You have the 3 of Cups. We have the High Priestess. And we have the 8 of Pentacles. So I actually almost laughed to myself when I pulled these cards initially, just almost, jokingly saying to myself, well, it's pretty clear to me what this is. This is you guys celebrating that Mars finally left Pisces, because sometimes I view this as a Piscean energy, and now you could actually get back to work. So that was one way that I viewed it. But, we want to look at it a little bit more deeper than that, although that could very well be exactly what this is representing. To me, the 3 of Cups represents long-standing connections, so it could be family. You're going to have some energy going on with the North Node in your 4th house, so there could be some reconnecting with family, growing with family, maybe partnering up with them. At the time I'm recording this, like I said, it was actually a full moon in the 4th house. So, that might have, even if there was conflict with family, let's say, maybe that brings it to a head and you guys actually resolve it, right? This is a celebratory energy. So, sometimes that happens in general around the holidays, right? People bury the hatchet for a bit. But to me, this just represents maybe you reconnecting with people you haven't seen in a while, whether they're family or just old friends. Maybe you went home, for example, for Christmas and reconnected with some people you hadn't seen in a while, and you take their numbers and you actually are more in contact now, right? High Priestess, this could be just saying that you've integrated those things. With Mars going through your 12th house, like I said, it probably wasn't the most comfortable, but it can also help you see in some ways where you might have gotten in your own way, and it happens to everyone. Nothing wrong with that. There's certainly, like I said, there was plenty of energy out there to represent that there was some external issues that you had to deal with as well. But sometimes the best thing you could do is figure out, all right, well, how can I put my best foot forward in these situations? And then 8 of Pentacles, like I said, this represents work energy. So this could just be saying now you finally do feel revitalized with Mars back in your sign and you're back to work. I know it doesn't sound very exciting, but on a more simple basis, could even be saying you start out the month celebrating, spend a little time to yourself after that, then get back on the grind. So maybe some of you even start the year on vacation, who knows. And the position of the environment's influence on the situation, you have the 8 of Wands. So this could just represent a lot of communication, a lot of action. This could also represent some short distance travel as well for me. So this is a Sagittarius card too, represents the first 10 degrees of Sagittarius, and I think Jupiter might have just moved out of those degrees, but even so, it could be what this is referring to. Venus will be actually moving into those degrees too. So maybe this is saying that you're getting some love offers, like we were saying with the Ace of Cups and the Foundation. Venus coming into that sign, that could definitely do that. That's your 9th house. You wouldn't normally think of that as love offers, but again, you guys have a connection with Venus, as Venus rules your opposite sign. So if you combine that with Jupiter being there as well, that could certainly be some of what's on the table for you. But yeah, this could just be, you guys coming back out of your shell again, and the world greets you when they see you back in that energy, right? What's interesting to me is in the hopes or fears position, you have the 9 of Wands. So to me, this could represent, I would think this is more of a fear than a hope, obviously, right? I mean, if you look at this guy's face, I don't think anyone would be hoping to be in the position he appears to be in, right? He doesn't look very comfortable or happy. But to me, with this in the fear position, the most likely thing I'm getting here is this is saying that everything starts moving again, right? And you might be thinking, all right, you just might, again, like I was saying, feeling gun shy there. You might feel like, all right, when's the ever shoe gonna drop, right? You might feel like, okay, this seems almost too good to be true, because you might have just felt so blocked for so long in 2018 that now you're getting that forward movement and you're like, wait a minute, Or it might even just take you a while to catch up. You might have gotten so used to being bogged down, like we said, with the sun and the challenge position there. You might not have had the energy for so long. Now you feel like everything starts moving again, and you're like, wow, I got to get back up to speed here. But either way, in the hopes or fears position, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to play out. Just more something that's on your mind. And then in the outcome position, we have the Queen of Swords, and we have the Ten of Wands. So what's interesting to me is 8, 9, 10, right? So to me, that almost represents progress, forward movement, right? So that's one way of looking at it. Sometimes this is seen as a burden, and another way that I view this is sometimes just moving forward somewhere without necessarily even knowing what the end goal is. So try to be careful with that. If you're really just plugging away but not even knowing why you're doing it, for example, then maybe what the Queen of Swords is asking for there is to, get that balance. Maybe you might feel like you're trying to do too much now with the with Mars back in your sign. So maybe you just go from 0 to 100. And maybe what this card is saying is, all right, try to pace yourself. Like, it's cool. Your ruler's not going retrograde again for a little over 2 years. It's back in your sign to start the year. You're going to have that supportive energy, but you don't have to try to make up for what you feel is lost time all in 1 week, right? And then end up burning yourself out. But yeah. And then for others of you, again, with this representing Libra for me, the court card for Libra, this could just be saying forward movement in your relationships. Which, like I said, with the way Venus spent a lot of time in retrograde, and that's being your natural ruler of your opposite sign, you might have felt like things were a little held up in the relationship area as well, and now you get that forward movement that you were hoping for. So it's the main vibe I'm getting there. I mean, Ten of Wands isn't always a positive card, though, so for those of you who do feel like you're, burdened in some way, that could just be asking you to get realistic about that and try to seek balance in that area as well, okay? Overall, though, I'm getting a pretty positive vibe here, and I felt that might be the case. The world in the reverse is a bit, it's definitely not the most positive card to have there, but the supporting cards around it to me just say that that's more the energy that you're coming in with, and then it looks like there's pretty good progress as the month goes along, so could just be saying that, especially with that eclipse going on in your 10th house, it's a new moon, so usually that brings something new rather than take something away. So there's that. So if you guys are worried, oh my God, am I going to lose my job? I don't think that's it at all. Especially if you look at the celebratory energy, the Eight of Wands, I don't see anything like that. So this could just be saying that things that were blocked up and felt held up forever for you now finally get that movement that you've been waiting for. All right. So the Oracle card is Truth Be Told. There's the artwork for it. And the number is 14, if that has any significance for you. We'll take a look at the message for that. All right, it says honesty, accepting things at face value, coming out of denial, the willingness to be transparent, clarity of communication. So coming out of denial, I almost think of the Eight of Swords energy there, and then clarity of communication makes me think of the Eight of Wands. So, already I see some signs of that there. The Oracle's message says there is the truth, which is the essence of a thing, and then there is a truth, subjective according to the philosophy of the adherent or believer. This is not a time for debate about which truth is truer. This is a time when you are called to proclaim your truth out loud and be willing to be transparent, honest, and open in your communication with others and with yourself. Nothing less than surrender to what is. Peeling off the layers of denial that kept you tied to an illusion will set you free. Be authentic and gloriously flawed, and Spirit will answer with miracles. So to me, that what sticks out to me there was saying, peeling off the layers of denial that kept you tied to an illusion. Like I said, you guys had that new moon when in the sign of Sagittarius in December that was squaring Mars in Pisces, which is the 12th house, and it was hanging out with Neptune So that's all in your 12th house. So that could have had you seeing things not necessarily all that clearly. Maybe that fog is lifting for you now. That could certainly be what that's pointing to. And then on the positive side, like I said, that could be you evaluated some ways that you might have gotten in your own way, and now you're ready to move forward with that. All right, the relationship message says people tell you who they are very quickly if you're willing to listen to what they say and pay attention to how they behave. This card calls you to engage in heartfelt, open communication. It's time to see the truth about what you share with each other and tell the truth about who you are and what you need. No one can do that for you. Remember that your truth is always based in your personality and experience up to now. A higher truth will be found after you communicate honestly and see how doing so has helped you become more attuned to yourself. Don't hold back. Speak your truth and listen. All right, well, what's interesting about that is I also think about, like we said, the year of the retrograde, basically, right? You know, Mercury, we're used to going retrograde a few times a year. Venus every 18 months or so. Your ruler, a little more than 2 years between retrogrades, but just felt like they were just stacked on top of each other this year, right? So, but yeah, with it saying the communication part of that, I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, you guys also, we basically just have the Mercury retrograde fog lifting too. So that could have been causing some communication issues for you guys as well. All right, the prosperity message says, are you willing to do whatever it takes to experience the prosperous life you desire? If you want to be an artist, do you make your art a priority? If you want to be a healer, do you set time aside to learn new things to help you serve? A writer must write, and a singer must sing. Being true to your calling is essential to your moving forward. There is another oracle message here too. It's time to have a look at the real, honest truth about your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about prosperity, about your relationship to money, to compensation, and to meaningful work. Ask yourself, what is true for me? And you will find the key to abundance. So, are you willing to do whatever it takes to experience the prosperous life you desire? Maybe that's the whole 8 of Wands to the 10 of Wands thing, right? Saying that, and I think I even told you guys to, if you felt that others needed to pick up the slack, you should have spoken up about that. But now maybe that you do have the energy back, right? Now you actually can put in the effort that you wanted to put in. So it's saying, okay, well, now you have the energy supporting that. Are you willing to put in that work? And with the 10 of Wands at the end of the reading there, it shows that you definitely seem to be. Not to mention, like we said, you have the 8 of Pentacles here too, which represents putting in work. So the answer seems to be yes there as far as that goes, but that's the main vibe that I got from that. And then, as far as art and being a healer, that could be what the Ace of Cups is about too. Saying maybe you've been thinking about doing something like that. Remember I was saying how the Ace is usually an idea. Maybe that's been something on your mind. You've been considering going that route. And now, maybe you finally take that step forward. And maybe that's what the High Priestess energy represents here as well. All right. And lastly, well, not lastly, but we also have another oracle card from a new deck I picked up. It's the Spirit Animal Oracle. And you guys got Spider Spirit. Make your dreams real. There's the artwork for it. And the number there is 56, in case that has any significance for you. So what sticks out to me about that already is make your dreams real. It almost makes me think of how you had Mars in your 12th house, which could have, really amped up your dream world in some ways. And maybe you got an idea and an insight during that time, and maybe that's also what the High Priestess is pointing to. And now you're actually putting in the work to bring it to fruition. That's a possibility. All right. The card says, Oracle message, weaving your dreams into the fabric of life begins with a single thread of intention, and then Spirit joins you as your co-weaving partner. Take but a single step to make your dream a reality, and Spirit will take 10 toward you, for the universe is designed to support your dream weaving. Spider Spirit arrives when you need to be reminded of the power of co-creation with Spirit. Ideas and resources will begin to appear as if by magic as you begin to bring your dreams from the realm of intention into the world of the senses where they take form. The action you need to take is to be clear about your intentions and then act as if you have become the one that lives the life you desire. The web of creation has an uncanny way of coming together to weave the beautiful pattern you set in motion. Another message of Spider Spirit is about any creative project you may be considering: writing, painting, music, journaling, gardening, etc. Now is the time when inspiration wants to be channeled through you as something creative, even artistic and tangible. Creative projects are successful now, if you are so inclined. Let yourself be open to abundance. In reading that, I could see the parallels between that and then the truth be told, mentioning the creativity and whatnot too, which is interesting. And then, like we said, we have the High Priestess, the Ace of Cups. There's definitely energy in the main spread supporting that as well, the Nine of Cups. But that made me think of the fact that, you guys have had eclipses going on in your 5th house axis, which is Leo, and then also 11th house of Aquarius. And now, right when the sun goes into Aquarius this month, there will be the final eclipse in the sign of Leo for 9 years, basically. So, that's your 5th house. It's right at 0 degrees Leo, so maybe that's that final push you need to, all right, this is it. I'm bringing this project out. That could be what's going on there. So a lot of supportive energy for that as far as the creativity angle, if that's really what it is. And then the last thing for you guys is I'm actually pulling Mudra cards for everyone. Just in case. Basically, what a mudra is it's a pose usually that you do with your hands that you hold for 5 minutes, sometimes half an hour, depending, but usually a minimum of 5 minutes. And depending on the specific pose, it could help you clear up blockages in certain areas of your life. So, if this resonates, feel free to give it a try. But here's the actual pose for you guys. And the name of this mudra was the Matangi mudra. And then the number for it is 38, in case that holds any significance for you. And what I'll do is I'll hold up the back side of the card here so you guys can, maybe screenshot it if you wanted to read about it a bit more. All right, there's part of it, and then let me move it up so you can read the other part of it as well. Like I said, that way if you want to pause it or screenshot it and maybe take a look at it, you can. But, as far as the benefits, it says facilitates diaphragmatic breathing, benefits the abdomen and abdominal organs of digestion, assimilation and elimination, activates the power of spirit, improves discernment and self-honesty, improves the voice and ability to communicate inner feelings. So maybe that's what that High Priestess is pointing to as well. With all that energy you've had in your 12th house now, maybe it's helped you get a bit more comfortable with speaking about your inner feelings. That's a possibility. Well, like I said, I'll put that in the description as well for the Matangi Mudra in case you guys wanted to do a Google search on it to find out more. I'm sure there's probably videos about it on YouTube as well. So if that resonates, feel free to check that out. And if you guys want a personal reading with me, you could go to the About section of my channel for more info on that. And you could check me out on Instagram as well, where we have a bit more fun with tarot and astrology there. But if not, Happy New Year's, guys, and I'll see you in February. Bye.